At Camp Hearn, curators eased cedar planks to reveal a dust-sealed ledger dispelling refused breakfast legends. Its dawn entry lists 13 pounds of bacon, 6 skillets, a dented ladle, molasses, scented sugar. If this stirs you, please subscribe. If you cherish whispered history, subscribe. Before sunrise, Lupe Mendez wrapped a flour-dusted apron around her waist, the cotton cool against calloused skin. She coaxed the pot-belly stove alive with cedar kindling, each spark snapping softly like distant applause in the dim kitchen. The stove exhaled a low orange glow that painted the concrete floor with ripples resembling shallow river water. Bacon slabs, still damp from brown sugar brine, waited on a pine table, their edges slick enough to shine under lantern light. Lupe pressed her fingertips into the meat, feeling pepper granules cling, then wiped them on a towel scented of lard and lemon. The first strip met the skillet with a sigh, releasing a perfume of pecan smoke that curled lazily toward the rafters. She arranged the pieces in even ranks, listening to the grease pop in steady rhythms that matched her heartbeat. Between turns, she tapped a ladle against a bucket of grits, the metallic knot keeping time like a patient metronome. Outside, watchtower boots shuffled on gravel, yet inside the room the only power was the warmth pooling around Lupe's wrists. Steam coated the windows, turning the rising sun into a blurred halo that gilded her profile with quiet authority. She hummed a low corrido, the melody weaving through smoke and settling atop stacked tin trays awaiting disciplined hands. In that tender glow, the boundaries between host and captive thinned, suspended on the shimmer of breakfast taking shape. In that era of ration books, the quartermaster lifted a steel-nibbed pen that scratched like a cricket across lined paper as he recorded each delivery from Temple's packing plant, noting exact weights, arrival hours, and the driver's sweat-soaked collar. An enamel clock above his desk ticked steadily, measuring trust in metallic heartbeats, while the pen traced looping numerals revealing how order survived rationed mornings. Photographs preserved nearby show prisoners clutching tin trays, their faces slick with humidity as the bacon's glossy sheen beckoned from the counter, though harsh noon light bleaches the images. That glare still spares a faint gleam on each strip, suggesting sweetness thick enough to taste even decades later. American officers framed the meal as morale management, insisting that satiated senses would quiet restless thoughts before they hardened into schemes, and the archived air carries a latent smoke still hanging. Does the aroma of hickory lull vigilance faster than any shouted command? The query floats within the recorded silence held in rafters darkened by years of sizzling dawns, revealing how invisible supervision seasoned the room. Floorboards beneath exhibit varnish remain faintly oily, their texture betraying how grease seeped into grain no mop could purge, as the quartermaster's ink stains smell faintly of iron, a metallic echo of pans he never lifted though he controlled. Instead, his meticulous script pairs with the perfume trapped in the ledger, evidence as tangible as bullets lined in a box, with bureaucracy meanwhile stirring the skillet through unseen hands. Camp chaplain Father Albrecht carried a leather missal softened by years of incense, and it soon absorbed Texas smoke like a reluctant blessing. When he entered Lupe's kitchen, the turning spit cast amber reflections across his spectacles, two trembling suns dancing on polished glass. He murmured prayers while the bacon hissed, the sound mingling with his Latin syllables to form a cadence gentler than marching boots. The chaplain's fingers brushed condensing steam, leaving droplets that smelled faintly of pepper clinging to the pages of his book. Behind him, prisoners inhaled in unison, their shoulders lifting as the aroma wrapped around them like a woolen shawl remembered from home. Marginal notes in his diary described men breaking formation to lean closer, a breach of discipline omitted from official summaries. He later wrote that pride softened like rendered fat, sliding from rigid faces until only hunger and quiet gratitude remained. Silence held because the commandant feared headlines depicting enemy officers swooning over Texas hospitality, and questioned loyalty would ripple through towns. Yet the texture of that dawn lingers, pewter plates warming palms, grease glistening on lip corners, and prayers tasting faintly of maple. For generations, veterans recalled the tremor in their wrists as they tasted sweetness against memories of rye bread and rationed butter. Each retelling adds another layer to the sensory archive, proving that persuasion can arrive on a fork instead of a decree. Reflection settles softly here, suggesting comfort might be the most potent sermon a kitchen can preach. The sand remembers. Instruments hum. The hollow waits for footsteps, for whispers, for bacon-scented confession. Decades before prisoners marched through the mess line, chuck wagon cooks along the Chisholm Trail perfected the art of coaxing obedience with food. Their journals, stained with grease and grit, explain how to tilt a skillet exactly 17 degrees so fat pooled without scorching. When historians unfolded those brittle pages, the air filled with the scent of mesquite ash, rough and sweet, clinging to parchment like fine dust. Tin plates recovered from abandoned campsites bear concentric scars where knives scraped for the final savoury morsels under star-pricked skies. Drovers told campfire stories about feeding strangers to steward fragile truces, their voices low as embers flared against the prairie wind. The same spice blend, paprika, pepper, and a hint of molasses, later appeared stamped on military requisitions for prisoner-of-war kitchens. By tracing the recipes, scholars tasted continuity, realizing Texas hospitality learned on cattle trails slipped smoothly into wartime strategy. A broom dragged across the museum floor now echoes with phantom hoofbeats, the sound resonating through the mess hall's wooden ribs. Instead of swords, these cooks wielded sizzling skillets, believing comfort softened tempers faster than orders barked through a megaphone. Archival tins still smell of soot and bacon, proof that aroma can outlast the voices that once floated around the fire. The discovery binds frontier nights to guarded mornings, showing that persuasion rode the same wagons as salt and flour. Reflection rises with the smoke, asserting that hospitality has long been Texas's quiet bridle on stubborn hearts. Eric, a milliner's apprentice from Bremen, stitched a journal from flour sacks whose cloth remains crusted with salt from the kitchen air. His entries describe cicadas droning outside while the generator behind the mess hall rumbled like distant thunder feeding the refrigeration units. He sketched table arrangements with charcoal, noting how sunrise poured through east windows and turned bacon steam into gold-veiled curtains. The first bite shocked him with sugary smoke, a flavour that clung to his palate like memories of a baker's hearth. Between poems he pasted ration card scraps, their fibres rough beneath fingertips, validating each word with tangible grit. Eric confessed that the breakfast disarmed him more gently than threats, admitting in crooked script that desire felt perilously close to betrayal. He listened to spatulas tapping in rhythm, a percussion line soft enough to blur guard orders into background murmurs. Still, he hid the journal beneath loose floorboards, aware that guards seized sentimental contraband as swiftly as hidden tools. Centuries later, archivists warmed the fabric pages under a gentle lamp, coaxing out a faint aroma of pecan smoke. The grease stains shimmered under glass, their edges feathered like feathers on a hat he once crafted in Bremen. Holding the journal, researchers heard the mess hall's hush reassemble around them, the smell and sound guiding interpretation. Reflection drifts across the cloth, proving that a breakfast can be penned into memory as indelibly as any battlefield report. After the armistice, Eric's notebook slipped into a mislabeled museum box filed under agricultural reports, a bureaucratic error that muffled its voice. Dust layered over the cloth, trapping the scent until a curator wearing soft cotton gloves traced the faint sketch of bacon strips. She felt the raised charcoal ridges beneath her fingertips, the texture grating like fine sandpaper against latex. The discovery illuminated how easily stories of nourishment become eclipsed by louder tales of barbed wire, escapes, and disciplinary drills. In the hush of the archive, A dehumidifier thrummed, echoing the old ventilation fan that once guided smoke toward barracks windows. She whispered a question to the room. Are we prepared to accept breakfast as a strategic instrument and not mere kindness? The query hovered in the chilled air, mingling with the faint aroma released as she gently flexed the cloth hinges. Accident, rather than conspiracy, preserved the secret. Silence settled simply because no one thought to look beneath the wrong label. Once catalogued correctly, the notebook's grease patterns mirrored entries in supply ledgers, forming a sensory bridge between memory and measurement. The curator recorded the temperature of the room, the angle of lamplight, and the soft crackle as dry fibers awakened. Her report smells faintly of lavender hand cream, a modern scent mingling with historic smoke in delicate balance. Reflection glows in that small office, proof that rediscovery sometimes arrives on the quiet rustle of shuffled folders. A Swiss Red Cross inspector toured Camp Herne, carrying a notebook perfumed by train coal soot that clung to his wool coat. He observed sunlight pouring through screened windows, trapping bacon steam in luminous pillars that resembled incense in an alpine chapel. His report, typed on onion skin paper, specifies wire gauge measurements, room temperatures, and the precise cadence of utensils striking enamel. Between statistics, he described cinnamon drifting over scalding coffee, the scent braiding with bacon into a tapestry of unexpected comfort. He contrasted this abundance with austere rye porridge served in European stalags, concluding that American hospitality was a calculated message. His typewriter ribbon faltered mid-sentence, the faintly faded letters suggesting trembling hands as he recorded prisoners closing their eyes to savor. The document was stamped confidential, folded carefully into a diplomatic pouch, and hidden to avoid accusations of enemy pampering. Decades later, scholars unfurled the pages, the paper crackling like thin ice and releasing a smoky residue trapped within fibers. Under ultraviolet light, grease fingerprints surfaced as silver glimmers, accidental signatures proving his inspection engaged every sense. The report remained silent out of reverence for neutrality, an intentional hush protecting fragile diplomatic balance. Now, its words resonate with the same gentle insistence as the hiss of bacon on iron. Reflection descends softly, reminding us that objectivity can smell like pecan smoke when truth mingles with taste. Mechanical drawings seized from the maintenance shed depict oven baffles, engineered to spread heat evenly, a banquet-level refinement for a prison kitchen. Graphite smudges on vellum still smell faintly of machine oil, evidence of hands that balanced wrenches and pencils with equal precision. Annotations specify how frequently to flip each strip so edges stayed flat, prescribing a choreography of spatulas like dancers on metal stages. Engineers noted ceiling fan rotations designed to steer smoke along calculated paths, ensuring aroma drifted toward barracks before the bugle sounded. When preservationists reconstructed the system using period stoves, the room glowed in bronze light while grease whispered against iron. Researchers closed their eyes involuntarily, lulled by the warmth radiating into their palms as they gripped the skillet handles. The experiment proved deliberate design, persuasion engineered through airflow, temperature, and timing, rather than left to chance. Silence cloaked the findings because acknowledging such intention blurred lines between security operations and hospitality. Scorch marks on recovered floorboards align perfectly with blueprint measurements, creating a tactile map for modern fingers to trace. Even the screws smell faintly of smoke, their threads stained by years of culinary campaigns. The tools of industry merged with the art of cooking, making the mess hall a laboratory of influence. Reflection hummed